but I never ever imagined that my very first event would be for the WBC India Championship. And as a promoter, I'm very proud. So, you know, the more I spoke to them, the more it sort of put a seed in my head.
Thanks a lot for taking time out for this small interview that we are having. It's a pleasure to have you on here.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me on, Ranjit.
Awesome. So I'll start with the most obvious question. So what's the latest update on the WBC India title fight that LC Promotion has in the pipeline?
Well, as you know, from the promotional side, 1st of May was the scheduled event here in Jalandhar, and then I think it was around the end of March, April, as you saw, India started going through the second wave pandemic. Still not through it completely. There's still a lot of vaccines, or vaccinations, I should say, that need to be done across the country. So really, that's where we are at the moment. I mean, as you know, every state has their different rules. I'm in Punjab, where we still have a 8 p.m. lockdown every day. Sundays is pretty much closed. So, you know, I'm not looking to, Ranjit, I'm not looking to crystal ball the situation. And very fortunate that myself, WBC, and the Indian Boxing Council are on the same page. So, you know, I've waited 18 months. So what's another couple of months? So, you know, right now, that's the honest answer.
Awesome. So now coming to your career, like you've been working with a lot of projects and you've been working with some big names. So for the viewers that are not aware, could you just tell us a brief introduction about yourself and the projects that you have done in the past?
Yeah, I mean, you know, growing up in the UK, born and raised in the UK, I come from a Punjabi family, you know, very proud. And I've been a boxing fan since I was about 8 years old. And, you know, like every kid growing up, you want to be something. And I wanted to be a boxer. But my parents wanted me, Punjabi parents, they wanted me to you know, be a doctor, engineer, lawyer. But, you know, later on in life, I decided that I wanted to help professional boxers. And really my first major steps to getting into professional boxing was I left London for Las Vegas. And as you know, Las Vegas is around the world regarded as the fight capital. It's the mecca of boxing. And I'm very fortunate that I'm now 4 years into my professional management license with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So just a shout out to the Nevada Commission. Thank you so much, Bob Bennett. And July 2019 was my first major promotion that I was involved with. So Super Boxing League, Amir Khan, Bill Dosanjh. Amir was initially scheduled to fight a Indian boxer, Neeraj Gohad, in Saudi Arabia. And again, it was my first time in Saudi, but what a great country. You know, they're making so many different changes in leaps and bounds, thanks to their His Royal Highness the Prince. So yeah, July 2019 was my first event that I was involved with on a major scale. It was televised worldwide. Amir actually ended up fighting Australia's Billy Dibb in a good contest. And after that, I returned back to United States, Las Vegas. And yeah, you know, and then fast track to sort of about 18-20 months ago, I started talking to the government here in Punjab and central government, and they were aware of my work with the amateur boxers such as Amit Bengal, Pooja Rani. You know, I had up like a joint management team that looks after their foreign affairs, if you like, their management interest. So yeah, and then all of a sudden there's this opportunity in my mind. I spoke to the Punjab government, and January 2020, I moved out to India.
Awesome. So you mentioned about discovering boxing at the age of 8. So how was that process like? Like, did you go to an event or did you see it on television? Like, how did you discover the sport?
Well, the UK's been, I mean, if you look at the, what they call the Queensberry rules, I mean, the same way that cricket was introduced to India probably about 400 years ago. It's the same with boxing. So boxing's been a big part of, and plus we have the major broadcasters. So I've been watching boxing ever since I was 8 years old on television. Yes, went to some events as well. My grandfather was very much into, coming from Punjab, settling in England. He was very much into wrestling, kushti, kabaddi. So, I had a great influence in my grandfather as well. So, yeah, from an early age, I watched a lot of, especially American boxers. And later on in life, like I said, when I wanted to get involved on the professional side, it just made a lot of sense for me to do it in the United States, where, boxing is huge in England now. I mean, if you look at Tyson Fury, Katie Taylor, Anthony Joshua, Billy Joe Saunders, some great names. I mean, Anthony Joshua, for example, I think in his last 5 fights has, live attendance has been around 400,000, which is, I think in Indian terms, 4 crore. I mean, that's the equivalent of 5 huge cricket matches in Eden Garden. That's amazing. So, but, I do believe that boxing in America is big as well. So really, my early influences came from watching, going to live events and watching television as well with all these great boxers.
So what made you, at what point did you decide to come to India and start your own boxing promotion?
Well, it was January 2020. So I was still in Las Vegas. Obviously, I still had my own path to follow, my own goals, dreams, aspirations. And then I started getting boxers from India, professional boxers mainly, reaching out to me and, seeing me out in, I presume, in Las Vegas with the big names. And, and then I started talking to a few of them. And listen, to be honest, Ranjit, whatever combat sport or boxing you're involved in, it's never easy. And most of these guys, doesn't matter what country you're from, they come from very humble backgrounds, very tough, maybe even single family backgrounds. So I knew that the Indian fighters were getting, it's very tough for them as well. So, the more I spoke to them, the more it sort of put a seed in my head. But it still took me probably another 2 years before I sort of, I suppose, I finished what I had to do in Las Vegas myself before I said, okay, well, I'm ready. Because it's different when, as a child, it's different when you come as a holiday to India with your parents and you come for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. But when you know that you may be here for a long, long time and feel very privileged having grown up in the UK and the US, I knew that living in India would be very, very different. So that's a different challenge as well. So I had to get my mindset around that I could be here for a long time. Obviously, nobody could have predicted the pandemic. And I made a very conscious choice that now that I was here and I was determined to do the groundwork, there was nowhere else for me to go and I was going to stay in India. So I've been here, 18 months now.
Awesome. So you will be hosting the first ever WBC India title fight at LC Promotions. So how did you decide,
Yes.
How did you get the idea of the WBC title and what were the steps that you took to achieve that?
Well, in professional boxing, the main 4 major sanctioning bodies are the WBC, WBA, IBF and WBO. If I can say so, probably because of their long history, the prestige of having champions such as Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, Floyd Mayweather, the WBC. If you ask most diehard boxing fans, they will probably name the WBC first. So I'm very pleased to have a good relationship with all 4 sanctioning bodies. Yes, probably more in particular with the WBC and the president. So I would love to thank the president, Maurizio Suleiman, for giving me this great honor, this prestige, and certainly for the Indian boxers as well. So really, this goes back to, relationships. Ranjit, is, the best relationships are normally formed over years and years. And that was the same with me in the WBC. So it wasn't an overnight thing. And, you know, it took time. And I knew that coming to India that I wanted to do an event or start doing events, but I never ever imagined that my very first event would be for the WBC India Championship. And as a promoter, I'm very proud to represent India and England and the United States, and to be the first professional promoter to do a championship fight and one of such prestige, the WBC. It's huge. It's a huge honor for me.
So you mentioned about the challenges you faced with the pandemic. So what were some of the other major challenges that you had while putting together the event?
Well, it's more one of culture. You know, I come from a very, very different culture. The mindset is very different. You know, I think something we spoke off camera is, you know, things like timing, you know, getting things done, you know, 5 o'clock means 5 o'clock. And, you know, I think in a good way, some people in India have a more relaxed attitude. And I like to get things done, you know. You know, 5 o'clock means 5 o'clock. If I say Tuesday, I mean Monday, you know, that sort of thing. So it was really, and I'm still getting used to it somewhat. You know, there's still days that I want to get things done and people will sort of take their time. Maybe nothing wrong for them, but for me, as somebody who's used to getting things done, and especially when I'm looking to host the first ever WBC India Championship, it's critical that we get things done on time.
Awesome. So lastly, like, what can the fans expect when the event finally happens? You have a lot of great fighters on the card. So what can the fans expect when the event finally happens?
Oh, great fights, great fights. You know, I've put the card together myself, which was no easy task because, again, going to my earlier point, you know, India, whilst it has an abundance of talent on the amateur side with the Boxing Federation of India, and it has professionals, there's not like a known area, you know, in Delhi or Mumbai. So, for example, you have Las Vegas, New York, probably parts of California. You can go into London, Manchester. So there are parts where you know that you're going to find the big gyms and major boxing names. So it's not the same in India. You have to go looking for them or do promotions or put it in the media to try and really get hold of the fighters. So I'm very excited at having put the card together myself. A lot of people have complimented on the card. We got Parm Goraya, who is a seasoned professional, Pawan Man. I mean, these are two great fighters who've fought on Super Boxing League, Super Fight League, Matrix Fight Night. So, you know, they bring a lot of experience, a lot of charisma as well. You know, Pawan Man's like, and Parm Goraya, they got like some crazy movie star looks as well. So who knows, we may get more females, you know, viewing the boxing as well. Asha Rocker, King of Knockouts. And let's not forget the main event. You know, we have Suman Kumari versus Chandni Mehra, lightweight, 60 kgs, two females. You know, they can really do amazing things for boxing and for female boxing. So I really hope that we see some great fights, and we see more girls, boys, males, females coming into boxing. You know, this is what my dream is for Indian boxing.
Awesome. So lastly, is there any message that you want to convey to the viewers that will be viewing this video?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, for anybody who's, you know, this has been tough times for all of us. We're still not out of the woods. And all I would say to everybody is, you know, keep working hard, keep believing, keep trusting yourself, and things will come good. You know, sometimes there's a reason for it. You know, whether this has happened through God, we've just got to trust in the process. You know, it's like what your first question was. I mean, to be fair, if I want to do something right now in the pandemic, it's probably nothing to really stop me. But if I want to do something that's safe and risk-free, what's another 2 or 3 months? You know, so I would just say to everybody, stay safe, follow the guidelines, And especially to all the boxers or wannabe boxers, you know, trust the process, keep training. And one message I would like to give out to some of the guys who, it's always good to think that you want to be a professional boxer. Listen, I'm no spring chicken. I want to be a professional boxer, but it's never going to happen. I've got too many gray hairs, right? It's not going to happen. But you've also got to follow a process. You know, I have a lot of, since we announced the WBC India Championship, I get a lot of boxers reaching out to me. And the one thing I say to them is professional boxing is a serious business. It's a hurt business. So you've got to learn the basics first. And again, I'm going to say this, and I've said this on multiple platforms, get yourself with the Boxing Federation of India. Get your amateur experience, learn to ride that bicycle, that scooter, that motorbike before you want to jump into the Ferrari, because once you jump in that car, there's no coming back, you know?
Awesome. So once again, Parm, thanks a lot for taking time out for this interview and looking forward to seeing the LC promotions event in action. So thanks again, once.
Me too. Thank you, Ranjit, and carry on the great work. And I appreciate you making this time out for me as well. And good luck to all your future endeavors as well.